we present NIVeL, a neural implicit vector layer representation for generative text-to-vector graphics. Given an input text prompt, NIVeL outputs 2D vector graphics shapes and colors in editable layers. The success of denoising diffusion models in representing rich data distributions over 2D raster images has prompted research on extending them to other data representations, such as vector graphics. We care about vector graphics because it is resolution-independent, compact, human-editable, and widely adopted in the industry. Thus, we wish to model the score function for these data distributions and generate high-quality samples that preserve the properties that we like. To enable generative text-to-vector graphics, one may turn to workarounds, such as ex post facto vectorization of raster diffusion outputs. This is not optimal because these generated samples are not close to vector graphics. They typically contain shapes and appearance that cannot be modeled with classical vector graphic primitives. The other option would be to train feed-forward denoising diffusion models directly on vector data to learn these rich priors, but data is scarce in this domain. Previous families of generative models have been restricted to fonts and simple icons. Additionally, we don't have consensus on what is the right neural architecture because of the variable structure of the vector representation. Score Distillation Sampling, SDS for short, is a new promising direction. SDS converts diffusion sampling into an optimization problem. Originally proposed in DreamFusion for optimizing neural radiance fields, this was extended in Vector Fusion to optimize vector graphics primitives like Bezier curves for text-to-vector graphics generation. Vector Fusion, however, suffers from various limitations. In traditional vector representations, the structure of the representation depends on the content of the graphic. Changes like the number and meaning of parameters being optimized are discrete, and so cannot be modeled by smooth optimization like SDS. Thus, Vector Fusion preserves the topology set during initialization and cannot make change in topology on the fly. Furthermore, Beziers are hard to optimize. Image space supervision provides no accurate regularization signal on the geometry, and these optimization approaches thus often result in degenerate geometries that are difficult for users to interpret or edit. We propose a new intermediate vector-like representation as the optimization domain for SDS. Derived from neural implicit functions, this representation maintains the resolution independence and simplicity of primitives we expect from vector graphics, while allowing for smooth arbitrary changes of shape topology without discrete jumps. Parameterized by coordinate-based MLP, our NIF maps XY coordinates to a vector of occupancies. High probabilities represent the presence of a shape, and low, the absence of a shape. These vector of occupancies gives us ordered layers of 2D continuous implicits. The number of layers L is a hyperparameter and represents an upper bound to the number of layers used in our representation. We add a dummy layer at the end to represent the background. Each layer containing a neural primitive has also associated with it a color. We have a total of L+1 learnable parameters to represent per layer colors. We then rasterize these shapes and appearances via a differentiable layer compositing function to produce a raster image. Editing neural implicit fields is a non-trivial problem. Fortunately, we can extract ISO curves from our layered implicit shapes through marching squares at any prescribed resolution. We call this representation NIVeL, which conveniently means level in Spanish. We use SDS to estimate parameters of our implicit representation such that it synthesizes a sample raster output with high probability according to a pre-trained image-based diffusion model conditioned on an input text prompt. The loss penalizes the KL divergence of a unimodal Gaussian distribution centered at a learned sample produced by our model, and the data distribution captured by the diffusion model. A key finding in DreamFusion was that the pre-trained diffusion model can be frozen, and the learned score produced by sampling the model can be treated as an approximate gradient. In practice, SDS gives access to loss gradients, not a scalar loss. We set L to 1, so we are only modeling a single shape, and we fix our colors. We initialize our MLP to produce this blob. Given the input prompt, a spider web, we show the learned shape and visualize the SDS gradient for each optimization step. We also include a regularization term and entropy loss to penalize uncertainty in our model's output and produce clean shapes, which makes isosurface extraction easier. We compare our results with Vector Fusion for the setting of line drawings. All the results shown here are SVGs. Our vector results contain much cleaner shape geometry across diverse topology, while Vector Fusion's SVGs contain redundant, degenerate curves, and self-intersecting shapes. Both of our systems have comparable trainable parameters. With our extracted SVGs, it is trivial to make edits using any design software like Inkscape or Illustrator. Here we show the results when optimizing multiple shapes. We can capture cleaner shape geometry across diverse topologies. Now we set number of frequencies to 2 and optimize lower capacity MLPs. Our method remains robust at a low capacity, faithfully capturing the abstraction of the concepts in the input text prompt, while Vector Fusion is unable to capture these abstractions. Quantitative evaluation and more details can be found in our paper linked in the description. Thank you.